Putin placed a large wager that the sale of energy would pay for his conflict in Ukraine. In light of a recent report, he made a terrible error. When Russian exports of fossil fuels fell off in December, Vladimir Putin's hopes that they would help Russia's economy withstand the fury of sanctions over its assault on Ukraine suffered a serious setback. According to a report released by the Center for Research on Energy and Clean Air, Russia's export revenues from fossil fuels dropped 17% last month to their lowest level since before the war started. Russia's net energy export earnings decreased by $172 million per day in December after the EU imposed fresh limitations on Russian energy. While the report revealed that even harsher initiatives against Russian energy would deal a crushing defeat to the nation's economy and possibly destabilize Putin's ability to maintain his expensive war in Ukraine, Russia still reaps enormous profits from its trade in fossil fuels, bringing in about $689 million daily. The analysis demonstrated that the drop in Russian fossil fuel income was a consequence of both the EU expanding its sanctions to specifically target Russian energy exports, as well as the worldwide reduction in demand caused by high costs. EU ships are no longer permitted to deliver Russian crude oil. On February 5th, the restriction will be expanded to include all petroleum products, which, according to the report, will reduce Russia's oil income by an additional $130 million daily. The analysis revealed that the sanctions have already had a significant impact on Russia's oil profits, as crude oil shipments declined 12% in December, while crude oil revenues plummeted 32%. The decline is a huge blow to Putin because fossil fuel revenues are the financial bloodline of Putin's war and were among his biggest cash cows at the start of the conflict. Half of Russia's profits from fossil fuels during the first 100 days of the war came from crude oil, and almost 2/3 from all oil products. Before we continue, be sure to give this video a like and subscribe to KABOOM if you haven't already. Oil and gas sales, which made up 45% of the federal budget in 2021, have long been a source of income for the Russian government. Last year, due to the urgent need for energy around the world, Russia's exports of fossil fuels brought in more money than it spent on Ukraine. But by shifting to different sources and lowering their energy usage, European countries, historically the biggest consumers of Russian fossil fuels, have been able to transition themselves off Russian energy imports, initially as a result of high prices and now largely as a result of an unusually mild winter. If the EU continues to invest in renewable energy to replace Russian fossil fuels, and if the bloc passes even more aggressive limits on Russian energy exports, the harm to Russia's economy and military might be substantially worse. The EU set a price restriction on Russian oil at $60 per barrel last month, effectively stopping any transactions for Russian oil in markets subject to the cap at any price higher than that. Analysis showed that the price cap has so far served to reduce Russian oil income, but dropping the cap to $25 to $35 a barrel would worsen matters for Russia while still maintaining prices above the cost of producing and transporting Russian oil. Other measures that Western nations may use to lower Russia's earnings include levying fines on nations that ship oil tankers to Russia, as producers might use those vessels to get around the price ceiling and use non-compliance fines for price cap violations. All of these actions might reduce Russia's revenue from fossil fuels by an additional $216 million every day. Officials from Russia have resisted the oil price ceiling and last month forbade oil deliveries to nations that support the restriction. In response to the cap, Putin has also promised production reductions, which could cause the price of oil to soar globally. However, production reductions might not be so good for Putin and the Russian economy. In the event of Russian production reduction, China and India, two remaining importers of Russian oil, could stop buying it, further reducing Russia's income. A rigorous oil price restriction would be catastrophic for Russia's budget and economy. What are your thoughts? Will these economic sanctions on Russia bring its economy to its knees, or will Putin continue with the war in Ukraine regardless of Western sanctions? Let us know in the comments, and make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to KABOOM for more videos.